My name is Ferraro, and I lead product at Cowrywise. I started off as a social media manager in 2017, but then was social media management. I was also doing a couple of other things. I know that I was at one point brand storyteller, at one point brand manager, and even to today, truth is I am more of the growth person there at Cowrywise. And today is just to simply walk you through, in quotes. I hope I can do, because there's a lot of things that happen to make growth here at Cowrywise. So the entire idea is to share knowledge on what I've learned, what lessons I've learned as a team, bundle everything up together, share with you, and see how you can apply them in your own spaces also. As a designer, as a creator, or probably as a brand marketer, how do you apply everything there? You understand? So the class is going to be in 2 sessions. I would explain the basics of growth, types of growth, how growth works in different spaces. Then we'll have a mini break, come back to now talk about how Cowrywise has applied its own growth together. Yeah. Quickly. So what does growth mean to you? Like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so basically move from where you are to where you want to be.
Okay, interesting. What does growth mean? So by the way, if you're watching, you can drop a comment of what does growth mean to you. I would like to see a comment of what does growth mean to you. So what does growth mean to you?
So for me, growth is how you connect with your audience to say, okay, this is the service I can offer. Like, this is what I'm promising you.
Yeah, so if you look at it very well, growth is more about the adoption of your product or service. So the rate of that adoption you get. So you started, let's say when you started, you had, let's say in January. So you started in January, you had 10 users. So in, let's say by March, you had 15 users. So the rate of adoption, that means between here and here, you had a growth of 5 or better plus 50%. 50%. So for those of you who don't like maths, 5 out of 10 is half. And 50%. So if you want to break the maths down properly, okay, someone says growth is an increase in consumption of a product. I like that definition. That's really good. So if you want to break it down, for those of you who don't like maths, so 5 over 10 times 100, you get. I hope you all get it, right? Yes. So good. So the entire idea here is when you're talking about growth, regardless of all the beautiful fanfare things that people say, it is about the increase in the adoption of your product. How are people adopting your product? At the core, are people using your product? Are people getting your product? You understand? So that's what growth means. However, there are very many approaches to growth. You've probably heard people say things like product-led growth, probably heard people say things like marketing-led growth, sales-led growth, content-led growth, platform-based-led growth. So today, before we dive into the Cowrywise style of growth, I'll talk about all those types of growth and explain it on for you. There is no, in quotes, best approach to growth. The same way you cannot have one approach to anything in life. Usually it's synergy of many options. Do you understand that? So let me quickly break that down for you. So when you talk about growth, like I said, we'll take it gradually, one at a time. The first thing you probably have heard is something called sales-led growth. Now, don't get it wrong. At the end of the day, everybody's trying to sell the product, sell something to someone, right? So, but traditionally, when you have, like, say, banks, or you have insurance companies, or so say traditional firms, they usually have salesmen. They usually have the human people that go out, work on demos, pitch the products to people. That's a sales-led growth approach. So whenever that thought of sales-led comes, just think of salesmen and human. When there's a very heavy human interaction to help people convert with salesmen, That's what is known as sales-led growth. How many of you have been involved in sales-led growth before? Was it stressful?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, kindly use the blue marker. No problem. I'll use the blue marker. Yes. So let me use the blue marker. So, wow. Now the blue marker is now misbehaving.
Is it black one? And
Black is not going to work. Sorry. I'll tick. Okay, that might work. So, Uche, can you check to get for us? Good. No, the other side. So, yeah, the first thing I said was sales-led growth. So, led growth. You understand? Pushing the brand and going out there to go and close customers. You know, so that they give you targets. You can get 400 customers, 200 customers for us. If you get 200 customers for us, this is what happens, you know, that kind of thing. So that's sales led. You also have another kind called marketing led growth. Blue? Blue, yes. So primarily, marketing-led growth is focused on acquisition. It doesn't necessarily mean these people are customers already. It could help you with generating it. So you heard people talk about lead generation magnets.
Yeah.
So we want to attract people to say, let's put it this way. Let's say we're a software company that sells payment services. We can put a lead generation magnet that talks about payments in Nigeria. So people download the guide, they read it, they understand it, and that way they become leads for us. So we then pass those leads to the salespeople, and the salespeople convert them. So most the marketing-led approach is usually focused on acquisition, like getting people into a funnel and having sales convert. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So there's sales-led approach, there's marketing-led approach, then you have the product-led approach. Now, bear in mind that these are all ways of growth. You have sales-led growth, marketing-led, product-led growth. Do you understand? So let me give you a very simple example of product-led growth. Product-led growth is very focused on how people interact with the products. So you are using a product and they want to nudge you to actually refer other people. Critical example, there is a Cowrywise. You got into one level and you get a nudge to refer somebody. You get product experience. But the entirety of product-led growth is that it focuses on the consumer experience, focus on the user experience, how the user experiences the product. Some people come and say, oh, I love the design of Cowrywise, I love the design of this brand. So that experience that the user has with the product is what. Okay, thank you. So Chibuzo, I'm about to use a green marker. Please tell me if it's clear enough for you. For those who are following.
Green just works.
Bring the. Okay, all right. I'm going to bring it down now. So, but I'll talk audibly so everybody can hear me clearly. That's that. So we said sales-led growth, marketing, product-led. Product-led growth is focused on user experience in such a way that based on that experience, they become an ambassador for the products. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
That's what product-led growth is about. A lot of tech companies, a lot of product companies are focused on product-led growth. So, quick example. If you will take, say, Cowrywise, for instance, to get a mutual fund for, you have to fill some pay from forms, which are some approvals, and you now have the option of doing it to Cowrywise within 3 minutes. If you have both options in front of you, you will most likely go for the one where you have 3 minutes to get. So that's because of the way the product has been designed to give the user a better experience so that they can convert better. Now, based on the personal interactions with the products, probably they see copies, very interesting copies within the product, they see very interesting things, emails and everything like that. They now go on to say, okay, I want to refer this product to my friend. So, as I mentioned, the key things that you must understand as a difference between all this is that, first of all, sales are salesmen who are just focused on going to go and convert people like armies outside there. The marketing-led is where you have use of lead magnets to generate leads that are passed on to the salesman to convert. Product-led growth is more about the user experience to ensure that it convinces people to, first of all, retain them. Then when they retain them, they find it exciting, they go on to refer their friends. Do you understand? So I'm very particular about product-led because that's what most of us use. First, it offers ease. Then it moves on to retention. So when you retain people, there's a higher chance of them referring people. And I think it's very key to mention here that retention is a growth strategy. Most times people are focused on, I want to get this one, I want to get that customer, I want to get it. But the stronger it is, the better approach is when you retain somebody, when you retain a customer, what happens is they become your ambassadors. So the more intimate experiences you create for that customer, the more engagement you have with that customer, the easier it is for them to stay with you and refer. I'll give you a very simple example. Last week was Father's Day. As opposed to just saying Happy Father's Day to people, we selected some users to come to the office to have paint and sip with their fathers. Many of them have never had that experience with their fathers before. They had never sat down with their fathers to like say, oh, Dad, let's go on a date, let's do this and everything like that, you understand? Usually, traditionally, not that that's the best way, fathers are usually very busy, never have time, people don't really celebrate fathers. So you see that experience is still marketing. Still marketing. And we are working to retain them. There was a genuine love, like for us to actually celebrate them. But one way or the other, it will retain them and they become ambassadors of your brand. So the experiences you give a user will retain them and help convert them to ambassadors of the brand. So how simple it is. You understand? So that's product-led growth plays a very, very big role. The next one is called content-led growth. When you hear content-led growth, can you give an example of a brand that you think does very content-led growth, particularly in Nigeria here?
Cowrywise.
So, yeah, Cowrywise. But apart from Cowrywise, there's a brand I really like, Zikoko.
Yes.
So Zikoko does very well when it comes to content-led growth. Content-led growth is simply various strategies you build around content to ensure that they tie back to your brand. They bring like a form of like a growth loop to your brand. Growth loops are I'll explain what growth loops are. So let me just note that down for you. Okay. Growth loops. Very bad. Growth loops. So what a growth loop simply means is that when an output goes out in a marketing campaign, or when there's an output in a product, people share it and bring in more interest for you. Have you ever used anything called SurveyMonkey to create a form,
Yes.
like a feedback form?
Yes.
When you create that form and you share it out, people see that form, then they fill the form and they have a note to say, hi, would you like to create your own form?
Yeah.
So one person creates that form, and then a loop keeps on happening like that. Do you understand? One way we apply that at Cowrywise is something called Cowrywise badges. So the more you go on using Cowrywise, you begin to earn rare badges for each milestone. People share those badges. Somebody sees that badge, they go on to create an account, they earn their own badge, they share a badge, and then it just keeps going on. So each output is bringing in other inputs. Do you understand? So for that to happen, that can come from the product-led approach, or it can come from the content-led approach. Let me give you an example of the content-led approach. Zikoko does quizzes every time. A lot of quizzes, they do a lot of quizzes. So once you see that quiz, you say, okay, they might ask you that, what kind of person, X person are you? You answer, you have a result, you share it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody clicks on that link, they go back there, they do the same quiz and everything, they share. And of course, as I said earlier, a loop starts. Do you understand? So the essence of growth at the end of the day is a very growth strategy at the end of the day is to ensure how you can have a loop that continues to feed itself. If you are looking at growth from the point of, which is what most people do, not bad although, and by the way, if you're joining online, I'll make sure you get a slide. We'll send a slide to you via email, so you can send your email. You can do
That will explain.
that. Explain. So what will happen is I'll share a form. Which please can you help us with a form?
Yeah.
A quick Google form.
Yeah.
Just your email, your name, your email, first name, last name. That's what will be on the form. You understand? So we'll send a slide to everyone to get it. The reason why I'm doing this, I'm not using slides because I just want to explain it better and you can follow me like that. So yeah.
Sorry, can I be async first? Let me just.
I can't say that.
So yeah. So far so good now. Do you have an idea of how growth should actually work?
Yeah.
Try what we see, which is still very good, is you have some from funnel, which we would also use one way or the other, where there's keeps going on like that, all to the point that they become ambassadors, which is referral for your brand. Yes, so they are aware, they acquire them, you convert them, you retain them, then you go to drive referrals. However, this assumes that you have to wait till this point before a referral will happen. Do you understand? And it assumes that there's just one path to growth. However, when you look at things from a growth point of view, where scrap this, you look at a growth point of view that this is the input, this is the output of something from your platform. Do you get? This output brings in another input, which leads to another output, and it keeps going on like that. Do you understand? So this is what we call a growth loop. So what's happening here is that output brings input, continues like that. If you think in this way, you can now have a couple of growth loops for just one. You can have a couple. One growth loop we use at Cowrywise badges. It's playing its own role there, bringing people in and out like that. And there are other growth loops we are exploring. Some of them are not live yet, but like when they get live, you will see them also. Do you understand my point? Another company that works very extensively with growth loops is Pinterest. So you go on Google, you search for something, you see a pin, you go to Pinterest, you like it, you create your own pin, then it happens like that. It just keeps going on. It just keeps going on. You can see how this is better than just assuming a funnel. Yes, so how does one output from your product bring in some other inputs back into the product? That's the best way to approach growth, and that's how we approach growth here at Cowrywise. Do you understand that now? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Good. So I've explained sales-led growth. I've explained person-led. I've explained product-led growth. I've also explained content-led. Another form of growth is something called the platform-based growth. So platform-based growth works with the employees. So it's not just, they're not necessarily putting Cowrywise content, they're not necessarily putting content from the work for. Here's how it looks like. I'm a growth marketer, I'm a product marketer. I'm on Twitter, and I'm dropping tips every single day about product marketing. I'm dropping tips every single day about growth marketing. If I want to organize, say, a masterclass, for instance, this class now, Cowrywise is one sponsoring this. I don't necessarily just speak about Cowrywise here, but Cowrywise is one sponsoring this. We're in Cowrywise building. You know that I work at Cowrywise. You like the fact that you're sitting down here currently. So the idea is that when a brand begins to support the platforms of their employees in such a way that those employees can build audiences around those platforms and create like a crowd such that if they endorse the brand, their audience will follow them. Do you get my point here right now? So it is your brand sponsoring your own vision so that it feeds into their own bigger vision.
Yeah.
That's platform. So a lot of times people look at Cowrywise and they say, oh my God, I want to work at Cowrywise. I like Cowrywise. I like this. It's because the brand is very intentional about supporting employees to actually grow their personal brand. Do you get that? And this is why this is what we do at Cowrywise. Like when we are onboarding people into the team, we tell them something. So we call it adjacent marketers. So you have the core marketing team of Cowrywise at the core. But every employee at Cowrywise is an adjacent marketer. So one way or the other, you are a marketer of the Cowrywise brand. So what that means is if today, if I'm a data analyst and I want to put out a very extensive research that might not necessarily be related to Cowrywise, and I want to have a talk about it, or I want to like spread it and distribute it far and wide, Cowrywise will step in to support me. So when people start to respect me for being a data analyst, two things will happen. They want to work at Cowrywise. They like the fact that Cowrywise supports I will most likely use Cowrywise. Do you understand that kind of thing? Just the way you have influencers that people pay. What Cowrywise is doing is we are building influencers out of our own employees to ensure that they will also not grow their own platform, but also bring in people for us. Do you understand that? So you look at everything so far now, and I can guess that you know exactly how Cowrywise approaches growth marketing. For clarity, at Cowrywise, we are more of the content-led growth with a blend of product-led and some platform branding. So at Cowrywise, let me just explain our growth structure now. And please, if you are following online, just remember that we're going to be sending this as a PDF. A form will be shared, and I'll have it pinned for you guys to actually add, to actually fill up. So this is Cowrywise. You have product-led marketing. You have content-led marketing for Cowrywise. Then you also have platform branding. Platform branding, once again, is for employees, right?
Yeah.
You get it. So you have platform branding. Good. All these three play a very important role of how we grow at Cowrywise. Every single thing here. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, all these things play a role. From the product side, we are very intentional about design. We're very intentional about how users experience the Cowrywise product. So you don't want people look outside and say, "Oh my God, the Cowrywise product is so beautiful." Every single day, we are sitting down in house to iterate and we design how the product should actually look like, what the product should feel like, what the product should, what kind of statements we expect people to actually take up about the product. So much that the interactions and the copies you see in a Cowrywise app are super intentional to drive a conversation. A very simple example: if you were to deposit some amount of money on Cowrywise on the web, the minimum is 100 naira. If you try to deposit 1 or 10 naira, it will say something like, "We're here for serious business." You get it? It's funny, and in fact, when someone has taken a screenshot of that copy before and put it on social media. Now, what has happened is that because of the intentionality of design, we've been able to nudge something called user-generated content. So how the user experience of a product would actually determine how many times we actually just give out user-generated, we just create content on your behalf. We've seen people take up the Cowrywise website, the Cowrywise app, and redesign and post. It might just be a design, it might just be an about. When they post on that timeline, probably the first time somebody else is hearing about Cowrywise, they visit Cowrywise and they sign up. You understand that? So the intentionality of our design plays a very strong role in growth. Design is not just design. Design is a business point for us at Cowrywise. You understand? The faster it is for somebody to complete a transaction, the faster it is for somebody to onboard on Cowrywise, the better user experience for that person, and the easier for that person to refer the product to someone else. So anytime we just talk about design and I look at design as it's not just design, let's just work on design. Design is never just design. Design has a strong business impact when it's intentional about improving user experience for someone. So that's the first part of Cowrywise. The products is where the story starts from. By the way, there is no good product story without a good product. It starts from a good product. So no matter how good your storytellers are, at some point, if you do not have a good product, it will show. So the product is the beginning of our story at Cowrywise. You move it, you move product aside, then you go into content-led marketing for Cowrywise. By the way, I will just touch briefly on this and then touch here. When we come back from the break, we'll now talk extensively what content-led marketing should be like and how we apply it here at Cowrywise. This is a content-led marketing structure, which I would explain in the next session. So for content-led, we operate in a space where people do not necessarily understand finance. Finance is very complex. A lot of people, they hear money and they're like, oh, we all like to spend money, but the complexity of money is what people do not necessarily understand. So for us, we try as much as possible to make it clear that money is fun, money is exciting. Like when you spend money, it's exciting. So that excitement to feel earning and spending money, we are bringing into the explanations that we give about money. Do you understand that now? So put that into consideration. That is why when we want to start teaching people about mutual funds, as opposed to just having a long form article where you talk about things that you're borrowing to people, we explain mutual funds using PISA. It was intentional. Content that people would relate with and content that people most likely share is what we do. It's what we do at Cowrywise. So you look at our emails, you look at our push notifications, every single thing plays a primary role to driving growth at Cowrywise. It might not necessarily be that, somebody reads the email and does this. Of course, we measure, but the entire idea is that it plays that retention goal for us, retaining people that, I like Cowrywise content, I like the email. I know I'm saying Cowrywise, because I'm about myself, I know that it actually works. If it did not work, you're not sitting here video online because they don't believe anything that I'm saying. So it works actually. So yeah, the content angle of Cowrywise is very important to us. And why it's actually very key is that people tend to trust those who teach them. One of the fastest to grow an audience is by teaching people. An approach I usually put that what most people do would grow on to become the first set of ambassadors. So they trust you, they've learned from you, they will toot your on anywhere, any day, anytime. So that's how we approach content at Cowrywise. Build a community that loves us for what we say, how we teach, and they go on to push about the brand. Do you get that?
Yes.
Then of course, platform branding. So in other firms, you see only the co-founders everywhere. Oh, this co-founder, that co-founder. But Cowrywise speak, or whenever you need to go out there and be yourself and grow your audience, you have Cowrywise behind you. So you would see a Cowrywise person at, say, another state or another country speaking at their own event, but you will clearly know this person is from Cowrywise. First of all, we have an internal slide structure, how you do your presentation slides, the font and everything. So once you see the font, there's a resonance with that. Okay, this is Cowrywise brand. Whenever you learn on the colors and everything align with Cowrywise. So they don't necessarily need to put the Cowrywise logo for anything like Cowrywise. They will come with Cowrywise wristbands, come with Cowrywise stops. Cowrywise will sponsor the food for the event, whatever they're trying to do. But in that way, you are helping them to become stronger ambassadors and bringing people to us. So these are the three things that play a strong role in our growth. Of course, people might say, oh, don't you run ads? We run ads from time to time, we work with influencers, but at the core, things that are consistently looping together to drive growth for us is the product-led side, the content-led side, and platform branding. Do you get that so far? Yeah. So any questions so far? And if you have questions too online, you can also share with me and I will answer. Yeah, do you have a question? Oh, please go on with your question.
So for a brand that is just starting, I know you said talk about Cowrywise, but I wanted to ask from Cowrywise where you guys begin.
Yeah.
Do you start all of these three different strategies at once, or you focus on one and after you build a level of strength and establish it, you move to the next one? Is it possible when you start off with a brand that is just starting, even though they have resources, to carry all of this together at once?
Yeah, I think it's possible. So one big issue with product growth is that a number of times people are building products, then thinking about marketing after. It should never be so. At the point of building the products, you should be hacking distribution into it. And that is why a couple of products like TikTok, from the get-go, they have how to say, if you come on this platform, how are they going to share our videos? How are they going to make things go very viral? So distribution was integrated from the development process of that product. You might not be able to do platform running at the beginning because it's expensive. You don't start spending money on it. But of course, you can always do product-led, content-led. Content-led, and by the way, content is not just articles, it's not just news and everything. Content can be experiences. Experiences can be events. It could be a 5 event, it could be a 10-man event. Simple example, probably you're launching a messaging product. To say, okay, we're having an email writing masterclass. Bring in one person that's very good at it, and you only have 5 slots or 10 slots, and people come there. Not all the people that are coming there will be your customers, but some of them are going to become your customers and convert. You know? So a company that is just starting, it is very important that you think of how you want to distribute from the very beginning. So it might be strictly product led, which I'm not sure, or it might be strictly content led, or it might be a blend. But most times, particularly a software product, you should be looking at product led and the content led approach. You understand? And when I say content, a couple of people are always thinking about just SEO, social media. It doesn't necessarily need to be SEO, social media. Like, for example, Zikopo. Zikopo is not SEO focused. By the way, SEO simply means search engine optimization, and it's more about how you rank when people search for something. So it's not just SEO. Seth Godin, I don't know if you know Seth Godin.
Yeah.
He doesn't write for SEO. What he writes for is his community, and his community keeps sharing his stuff because his stuff is good. Not everybody is going to play in the SEO space. It's not because SEO is bad. Of course, you can see, but not everybody is going to play in the SEO space. Some are going to simply play in the viral space. Some are going to play in the just the community space. So you need to first of all understand how you want to approach it and which one works for you. At the very beginning, test everything. Do SEO, do everything. Test as fast as possible. Test within 1 week, 2 weeks. Of course, you cannot test SEO within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You can start the foundation, see whether it works. The good about SEO is that whether it works or not, the content is there forever. So you have it there. The day it picks up is the day you will know that, okay, fine. For example, let's say a particular brand, and the industry that they are in, there's nothing about that industry yet. You understand? What will happen is that they start writing content for that industry. The content is simply just thought leadership to teach people about what it is that they do on. When the queries for that particular thing they're working on kicks in, they'll have the content down already. Right now, just focus on that community and teaching that community. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So when it comes to content, please do not just think about emails, do not think about it's fine, but it's more about the experience they can create. What we did here for Father's Day at Cowrywise is content. It was an experience for those people. Do you get my point around that? So yes. Any other questions before we end this particular session and move on to the second one? Any questions? Okay. Seems like any questions?
Okay, so I'm just thinking of my
Speak up so that the other people can
for
hear.
a platform-led growth strategy. Is it possible to also adopt it for your customers? Is there a way to take, for instance, you're in a service. Every time somebody comes and uses your service, is there a way to, just make them also support them in a way that they're also putting out your brand there on your behalf?
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's one thing I didn't mention also. At the core of Cowrywise, referrals play a very good role for us. Like it's a very huge contribution to how we grow at Cowrywise. But still, referrals are tied to product led. Once people have a good experience with your products, there's a higher chance of them referring your product. But from where you're coming from, you're saying how can we support customers and convert them to ambassadors? Not like regular ambassadors, but like high level ambassadors. Yeah, that's possible. We've done that also, interestingly. So we had a customer, her name is I can't remember, Ori Macaulay. She's still a customer today. She's a poet. So she wanted to host our first reading session for poems and all. I mean, we're an investment company, right? What is our business with poems? But we saw it as us investing in the customer. That okay, she wants to do this and she's a friend of the house. We gave her our space here. We did we had food, we had the entire lighting and everything was from us. We all came together and all like that. We took pictures and everything like that. She didn't pay anything. Until today, we are still also very good with her. You understand? So regardless of if she stops being a customer or that day she brought her community here. They knew her with Cowrywise. She endorsed Cowrywise in front of them. Do you understand that kind of thing? So you can also do that for your customers. You can pick. We didn't even pick. She just reached out and she asked. Customers can reach out and ask and you can help them. But also you can be very intentional about it and say you want to pick certain customers, help them to achieve whatever they want to achieve, and they become ambassadors and push for your brand also. So yeah, that falls under platform brand also. But so simply put, any platform, it can be an employee platform, a customer's platform, you brand it and you push it up for them. That makes sense for you?
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
It's like you from what it has. In business where you don't really have it, so you offer service. They bought your product, as they bought your service in that sense. So it's not like you are giving them products, so they have user experience. They really have to patronize you, use your service. Do you think content-led approach can be the only thing? Because definitely the office will definitely not apply to this platform branding thing. I think this content-led.
Now give me an example of kind of brand.
So a consulting firm that let's just go to consulting firm. You don't have a product, you don't have an app.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
services that you really have to buy and all. So do you think content-led approach alone can really do the work of moving? And the demographic of this guy is not the young people.
Yeah.
We're really talking about people that are in their 50s and 60s.
Mhm.
So, and you know they don't really read content. If you are looking at these people strategically, they will not probably read my blog article or anything. So do you think we can still apply content-led approach? Or we
Remember I said that there are a lot of there's still sales.
so let's do sales because even that is post-pandemic, no one is willing to go out anymore. Even
Yeah. So
It's
it's still content actually. It's still content. So they might not read articles. That's why I always tell people that whenever you're writing content, what exactly are you writing for? You might not be writing for the overall boss. You might be writing for the PA or the EA who might just see it online. But that's not all. That's not everything. So one approach is something I learned from a B2B firm. They use very, very short, simple videos. How do they find them? Google, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is one approach for such a consulting firm, and that's where platform branding really comes into play.
So sorry, it's like my question is entering another question. So they probably thought leadership where I am. So you use your BD's account to post and post. But the problem I'm having with that is that it's not an immediate something. So it's something that they must have been reading about you. These ones are top decision makers. They won't just say because of your post and because you wrote about something they're interested in, they're coming to your DM and asking for your services. Yes. So that's something that really takes a long while. So sometimes during this long period, you may get to actually lose them because there are others that are still competing for them, isn't it? So what else? My own query is that what else can you add that is short term that is within like a month? They are thinking of me. Because you have your target for the one you have to keep it.
Okay, so if you want to go through the approach of short-term impacts quickly, like I don't have answers for that.
So,
I don't have answers.
But okay. So if you're looking at long term, do you what else do you think can be added?
so
What to do? One other approach is focus groups. I've heard of focus groups.
Yeah.
Very high level focus groups. So it could be, I'll give you a very simple example. Say consulting, yes, for example. Consulting. Say a consulting firm, right? You could have wine talk.
Yeah.
And the wine talk is very simple in the sense that 10 of them come around, sip some wine, God bless you, sip some wine. Yes, the video will still be here after the training. It'll still be able so sip some wine, they talk, they tell you about problems and everything like that. And you tell them that, of course, you might get someone that's around that age group, probably the founder of your company, and say, we'll have everyone have a 10-minute, or it would be a popular person that you invite for the event, but everyone have a 10-minute exclusive session with this person just to discuss whatever it is. Just my point. But however, for you to be able to do that, you have to get a membership card. That membership card does not end there. The membership card is also more like after that event, you will also be able to access our service because that's the first impression you're giving them at that point. So after that event, you'll also be able to access our services for say at this slash. Don't call it slash. At $100, you'll be able to access all of this. Let's say that those services cost $500 before, but this is $100 pass to do this with us. You understand that kind of thing? So it's not that also is not even a very, very fast level approach. So what you have here now is a mix of influencer marketing, which is still on that platform running, influencer marketing and content led. So you're bringing an influencer to host a conversation with your lead people. Because it's that influencer that is coming, they can obviously attract those people that you want to bring into that space. Do you understand? You might not be able to get all the big dogs, but at least you get some people that you expect that they come into that space. Then from there, you now convert them to actually go on and use you in the future because they've been impressed by what you did. So it still comes back to experience. Do you understand?
Yeah.
At the core of everything, content, platform, product led, there's still experience. If your content is shit, if your content does not have good structure, nobody's going to come back. If you do enough platform buying, they are pushing forward, you don't have to talk, nobody's going to come back. So how people experience whatever you put forward is what drives the Yeah, one question.
What you do when your users are not your purchasers? For instance, children use our brand.
Yeah.
Parents buy.
Yes.
So obviously, I can't market to the children. There are very few of them on social media. There's K to 12, so maybe 12 will be on there, but we are not thinking that that's using Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So because the people who will actually benefit from it are not exactly people who pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so how do you hack, letting the people that don't care, they just want to try and give their child anything. How do you convince them that?
Sorry, can I chip in?
Yes, you can.
So content can also work for you, and I'll give you an amazing brand that does that. Okay? So you see that they are putting out jingles, they're putting out content that the kids will like. The kids will always think about when they are home. Mama good do, mom like no other. It's focused on the kids, but indirectly, these kids are also going to make their mothers like you not yet the last of Indomie at home. Yeah. At that point, when you want to buy Indomie,
what if you don't have Indomie's budget?
So they are always
yeah. So your brand is just coming up.
Let me give
Indomie.
Let me give you a simple example. So when you're trying to target children, the good thing about people that are trying to target children is that parents Google a lot. They always send it for every single thing. How do you do this for your child? I've not seen anybody that does. So the good thing, so for your own case now, where is very interesting. Parents search in exact terms. How do you get a 10-year-old to do XYZ? How do you get a 12-year-old to do XYZ? So one thing for your content, one thing I always do is that if you, for instance, you want to check for online courses for primary school children, if you Google online courses for primary school children, if you scroll down a bit, you will see something called people also search for.
Yeah.
What I do is that I write blog posts with people exactly as they type it there. I use that to write the blog post. So once I write the blog post, once people come back and search, it will just pop up. You understand? So once the people also search for, it is showing you exactly how people are searching for whatever it is that you're trying to target. You understand? So it's not like I'm not saying that that's the only way. But one other brand that did something very interesting was Mr. Biggs with Super Strikers.
Yes.
Super Strikers. So Super Strikers was just one aspect. It was the experience of children playing in the playpens and everything. But Super Strikers was a very strong aspect because trying to go there was very Super Strikers. So they made sure distribution was more within that was mobile, I think that time, and just Mr. Biggs. So you would always be able to buy it at Mr. Biggs or that place. So sometimes there has to be like a lead magnet. It could be, say, very simple cartoons that will just lead people that they can only watch on your channel. So during the cartoons, there's an advertisement for your product. You're the owner of the cartoon. You're not putting the ad in the product there. So they're watching it. And most times parents watch the cartoon with their children these days because they don't want their children to watch whatever it is. You understand? So these are just two ways. More of SEO content targeted at what parents are searching, and probably lead magnets through shows or through cartoons. Do you understand that kind of?
Okay.
Yes. So guys, we'll be back in about, so it's 2:10. We'll be back by 2:30 to continue the other part of the session. So let's have our break, right?
Okay.
So hi guys, welcome back to the second session. Can you hear me now? Can you hear us? Hello, can you hear us now? Okay, good. So welcome to the second session of the class. I'm quite excited about. I'm quite excited about the first one. We're here. I focus on one part of our growth at Cowrywise. I'm speaking more from the content angle because, of course, I'm not a product designer. I don't know how to do product design. Though being a part of Cowrywise, you always have to have something for design. Like my slides have to be very well designed. I can't make them rough or scrappy as anyone will be. Then, yeah. So what I'm doing content design. I started working Cowrywise with content. When I joined Cowrywise, I joined Cowrywise as the fifth person. There was Zach, Edward, Okwe, and Faye. And yes, there was somebody called Okwe. So when I came in, task was content, socials, experiences, events, Twitch chats, and things like that. You understand that? So that's why I'm very vast on how our content actually drives growth at Cowrywise. The structure of content-led marketing, give you examples of companies that have used content-led marketing and how you can learn from them. By the way, this model I'm about to share with you is something I got from a newsletter called the Learning Newsletter. So let me just Learning, L-E, the Learning Newsletter. So really good stuff about everything product to marketing. You guys, so the Learning Newsletter. Great guys, you should follow the newsletter. So quickly, let's dive into this and let me explain how it is for you. Good. So there are various types of content that people can interact with, various types of content that people can see anywhere in the world. You have UGC. UGC simply means user-generated content. That means content created by your users. SEO, how do you rank for search queries across Google or across Bing or any search engine in the world? Editorial, what we write in-house, where we write press releases and stuff. Virality, how do you make something go so viral that everywhere? Like the times the Coco did, what's the name? Millennials versus Gen Z. That it trended for God knows how long, and they ran a conversation. So that was a viral article. Like I had mentioned before, it's usually very hard for you to be in one path alone. So you can either here, you can be an editorial content focused on SEO, or user-generated content focused on SEO, or user-generated content focused on virality, or editorial content focused on virality. So from there, you now have user-generated SEO optimized. So user-generated content that is optimized for SEO, or you have editorial-generated content that is optimized for SEO. You have data-generated content that is optimized for SEO. You have user-generated content that is optimized for virality. You have editorial-generated content that is optimized for virality. So all these forms are ways that brands use to lead content for growth at their own firm. For us at Cowrywise, what we do is editorial SEO. We do a blend of UGC virality. That means we want our customers to create content that will go, and I'll give you examples of that. Then we also have editorial virality as Cowrywise. When we don't play in this space, we don't really play in the UGC where customers are creating content that is optimized for SEO. You don't have to fit into those spaces. You can just fit into one and do one very well. Do you understand? So before we move on, let me start from here. So which brands currently play in this place of UGC, that's user-generated content, and SEO? Quora. So most times when you go online, you search for something, you will see content from other people shown from Quora. So it is user-generated content that has been optimized for SEO, and that brings traffic into Quora. Do you understand? So people go into Quora, they've seen the result, they read the topic, and sometimes people stay on Quora and begin to write their own answers to questions. You can see the growth loop that is already happening there, right?
Yeah.
So that is
Pinterest
for
as well.
same thing with Pinterest. So yeah, Pinterest also does good. Pinterest does user-generated content and SEO. So they have user-generated content that is optimized for SEO. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So let me think of, in Nigeria, it is Neraland.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, you have Neraland. Neraland does that also. Neraland does that.
Let's see it.
Well, so Neraland,
Like it.
my handwriting. It's terrible. What?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can now move to content that is now generated for, like, it's SEO focused, but it's written by the in-house editorial team of a company. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So let me see which company does that very well. So I mentioned a financial news house online, and they're constantly writing a lot of things that are built around the finance space. Do you understand? We also have Cowrywise. So let's put usually brands like this that are always
Stairs. Stairs.
yes, Stairs also. But Stairs is hard. I won't say sharp, but
It is actually because they are premium, like premium. You have to
yeah,
subscribe
true.
to access their content.
We have Cowrywise. So for example, at Cowrywise, we'll look through a couple of keywords around mutual funds. Today, if you Google allow mutual funds in Nigeria, you'll see a couple of things from Cowrywise. Because we've targeted it properly, we've written in-house content that is optimized for SEO to actually drag people, to actually bring people into our funnel. Do you understand? And one easy way to track this kind of thing is with Google Analytics, because most times when you write content, people want to know exactly what happened. So people come into your content first. When you go at Google Analytics, you can then develop like a pathway. Okay, these people came in through this. So then you can now effectively say that this content is actually driving your growth. Yes, sir. Sometimes it might not happen that way. The truth might not be, some people just share, they don't go from there, they go back to Cowrywise.com and they sign up. But if content is playing a role, you will know. First of all, how is it ranking in query? That means what's the click through? That means by clicking on that link when it comes up in a query. So for us at Cowrywise, we do this a lot for very complex terms like mutual funds, how the mutual funds work, types of mutual funds, allow mutual funds, investing, even things like black tax, group investments. We are constantly churning out content for SEO from an editorial point of view. Do you understand? Then you come down here to, by the way, bear in mind that all these are frameworks for content-led growth. Yes, sir. So you now come down to editorial versus virality. So this kind of people, most brands that play here are not focused on SEO. They're not looking to rank on SEO. They're also focused on people reading the content and sharing it massively. You have Zikoko. Zikoko plays in this space. Zikoko. Sometimes we play here also. Like there was a time we wrote a particular content on black tax. There was an argument, people saying you should do black tax. So we wrote so we play here from time to time. But our strength is more of here. You understand? So we play a lot. So Zikoko, who again, like I said, Seth Godin. Seth Godin is a leading marketer. Seth Godin. So the entire idea is that write something that is really good and people want to share it. It can be very controversial. Most people that play in this particular space, they write a lot of controversial articles. They are very opinionated. They tell you what they think, and if you don't agree with it, that's your business. You don't care. That's what they do in this space, and it works for them clearly. Do you understand? Then you now move to this other space. Virality and user. I really like this one because it comes off as very genuine. People just like it, they just love it. Of course, TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok plays a very big role. Yeah, nobody can. I don't think anybody can steal it from TikTok. Then you have Spotify. So what Spotify does with Spotify Wrap, where after at the end of the year they show you what you listen to. People go on. Even they also at Cowrywise, they do something called end of year, the money roundup, Cowrywise roundup. So the first time we did the Cowrywise roundup, the very first time we did it, people were trending the pictures everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. Like it was not like people were feeling left out. There was that. Wow. I don't know. Some people now signed up, and when they got there was a very witty copy that said, "Oh, it seems like a television store. Your money." Some around that this year, come back and stuff. So this particular pass, this UGC as a variety pass, is not necessary for every brand, but it's a very good thing if you hack it as a consumer brand. So what's going to happen is that your customers will consistently share content that will go viral on your behalf. Another brand that does this very well is called Shein. The fashion brand.
Yeah, fast fashion.
Yeah, fast fashion brand in China, Shein. User-generated content or viral ways that just go massive up and down like that. Do you understand that? So for us now, Cowrywise, where we play, particularly for growth, is this one, two. And I've explained how we work across these two parts. So for number one, we use something called, which everybody should be using, I believe, is Search Console. What Search Console is basically showing is that what queries are you ranking for? When people search for you currently, where are you ranking? Like, you know, like what queries do you come up for? Are people searching for dollars? They are coming up, okay, what can you write for dollars? Is it worth writing for dollars? Is there volume there, write for dollars? Are people searching for, say, Euro bonds now for Cowrywise? And are we coming up in the search? If you are coming up in the search, what is our current position in that search? Do you understand? If it's our current position, what content can we write to ensure that, okay, in the next 6 months, we'll move from here to this position? You get my point, right? So that is how we approach the editorial and SEO parts at Cowrywise, basically Search Console. And when we want to now title such articles, like I said, we go on to look at people also search for, and we use that for our titles. It works very well. Because you're basically writing what the person is searching for in Google, and you build up your very long, it can be long tail, it can be short tail. As long as the intent of that person is going to also stand out for them. Do you understand? That is how we work with SEO and editorial at Cowrywise. Now, for UGC and virality, it's two things for Cowrywise. First, it is that it could be push notifications, it could be the email. We are very particular about subject lines of the emails. The email subject lines always come off as questions or direct, like, what's it in your money? Some people might not read that email, please. Some will not read it, will take screenshots of the subject line and go on to post on Twitter and talk about it. Some will read it, take a screenshot of the content and go on to post about it. So everything for the content is written with the mindset of having a conversation that will trigger the person to do something. That is why most of the headlines from Cowrywise always come up as questions. Questions actually trigger people to what's in this email, or they respond without even actually going into it. Another thing is push notifications. In 2019, the first push notification was sent was I'm always confused whether it was May or March, but that was the first push notification was sent. And it said something like, this money you're about to spend now, this money you're about to blow, see that money you're about to blow. And it went out around 5:07 p.m. that day. The reason why I went out 5:07 p.m. that day was that on a Friday, you're planning to actually hang out with your friends, you want to do stuff, you want to club, you want to buy things like that. So it was very intentional. It was not a mistake that it went out by 5:07 p.m. Do you understand that kind of thing? And who's that attention to, like, are you monitoring me? How do you know to do that? Yeah. But the problem with UGC virality content is that if you're not careful, you can kill it. When it becomes too every time, and there's no creativity in the copies that come out anymore, it can die. Yeah, so you have to always like step back, look at what you've done, see it very well. Does it make sense what we did? Should we go on and do it this way or stuff? You have to constantly review this. If not, that's why you're trying to be intentional about it. But most brands that just do it, that just strictly user-generated content or virality without any intentionality, TikTok, they usually don't do anything. What they just do is that when something is trending, they nudge people to create content and actually stuff. Do you understand? So all this, when you talk about content-led growth, this is the entire framework of content-led growth: SEO, editorial, virality, UGC. Then you now have the working principles of it. Content, then data-generated SEO content. So data-generated SEO content is still like UG, user-generated. It's just that it chooses which one it should rank better. The user-generated viral, that means things that users generate and get some sort of virality. Then employee-generated content that gets some sort of virality also. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Do you get it clearly now? How we go around with content now at Cowrywise? Is there an idea for you here?
Sorry, the cake
I thought like that. I didn't mention it.
employee, like, would you group it under the employee generated content?
Virality.
Yeah.
Yes. So the cake email was not a mistake.
Yeah, you know.
It was not a mistake. Somebody don't know. They thought it was a mistake and decided to pity the person that wrote it. Oh, man. But you have to let email very well. You said you had an unsubscribe. It was clearly a marketing approach. The idea there was that we launched a product called badges, and we wanted to start gifting people cakes based on badges. But for that to happen, more people needed to know about badges. And why not just make a joke out of it and say, create an email where you're asking the boss for cakes and everything like that. And it went boom, and it worked well for us. The article got massive visits. That was the key metric for us. Secondary metric, which was supposed to be the primary metric, was that people go on and create badges. And they went on to create their badges. People started to explore badges and try to unlock certain badges. So we pushed the badges down to there. So it was very intentional for us. A number of times, some things will just happen randomly. That first push notification, though it was intentional for us, we didn't know we were going to trend that day. We were going to talk about that day. But it happened. As long as we structure those things we bound to happen. The email one, I really liked that whole life. It was very, it was very interesting for us. So do you understand this framework now?
Yes.
And you can now look inwards at your own company and see how you can actually apply it. So give me a brand.
Is it Nigerian brand?
Any brand, anyway. Many men are some brands are not even be in the content place.
Sterling Bank.
Sterling Bank.
No, but
Sterling does virality.
yeah.
So this is where Sterling Bank is back. But now, there are some guys that are very strong editorial wise, and they're not in virality, but they're very niche and community driven, not viral at all. And one of them is Stripe. I don't know if you heard of Stripe.
Yes.
So like the ones that bought paper. They have these hardcover books that they release that are so quality and only a few people have access to them. It's for the community. Do you understand? Not everyone can have access to them. That's exclusive few. So you can see it, but you can't hold it. Only a few people can actually hold it. So there are obviously deviations from this framework. This is and I mean, we did economics here in secondary school. So in economics, you have things called models, and models are just assumptions that put things like simple assumptions, but they can be deviations from that. So there can be deviations from this framework, but this is a simple way to look at it and say, I want to start a content-led growth. So where do I fit in content-led growth? Do you understand? For your own brand now, a consulting brand, I would advise that you play, more importantly, within these two places here.
Up to virality.
You have to virality. You can go. So you don't have that on LinkedIn. You just want that this something is trending.
Yeah.
Even the 50-year-olds, they used to like all those things. They will like it. The 40-year-olds will still like it. And that's how most brands actually grow, particularly consulting brands. Why is very important a consulting brand to have that kind of presence is that when people trust you, like I said, when people trust you, it's easier for them to refer you. I've seen cases where they refer somebody that some people remember that they never used in their lives. But when they've seen the person on Twitter talking about
confidence.
somebody knows it. Let me defend the person. Sorry. Okay, somebody said I should ask. The Lenny newsletter. Yeah. So you see that it's not that we are doing magic at Cowrywise, it's just that we have frameworks for some of these things. Yeah. So yeah, some are Game of Thrones. I like Game of Thrones.
Scale my hustle. She said scale my hustle.
Game of Thrones is more of a community brand. They are strictly focused on creating content for their community. So that people within the community are strong ambassadors of the brand. You get, like I said, it's so that you can call it exclusive editorial, like what Stripe does also. So it's editorial, but it's exclusive to the community that you get. So yes. You get. So does that make sense? Okay. Any questions so far before I go into something called product qualified leads and adjacent users? It is something that we're still experimenting in-house, but it's okay to share, and I hope that you get also. Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay. Any questions? If you have any question online, you can drop your questions and I'll ensure that I respond to them. Oh, network is bad. If you have any questions, please just drop a comment and I will ensure that I respond. Yes, if you have any questions, please just drop a question and I will respond to you if you have any questions, please. Thank you, guys. Okay. So we're done here, right? We're done here. Okay. Let's take this off. So when you have a product, you have a service. The first thing you need to always determine is who is your core user or who is your core customer. So let's just say core customer, core user. So this is very important for you. So when you have a product, you say who is your core user, who is your core customer. If you now like say, let's give an example of Uber or a cab, for instance. And we'll say our core user is somebody that takes 5 trips in a week. Or let's say 3 trips in a week. That's our core user. If somebody is taking 2 trips, it's an adjacent user. If someone is taking 1 trip, they're an adjacent user. Someone has downloaded the app, they've not taken any trip, they're an adjacent user. So in this case, which is something that every branch also understand, growth is not necessarily about getting more people to enter, getting more people here now. Understand? You keep getting people, no doubt. But now you're looking at how do you move this guy to this place? How do you move her to this place? And how do you move them to this place? So most times, people forget about this. So you're growing your numbers. You're having many. Sorry, I think there's a question. My question has to do with switching career from digital marketing to product growth marketing. What is the best way to try? So I'll come to that. Somebody's asking, he wants to switch from digital marketing to product marketing. I'll come to that. It's basically the same thing, but I'll explain how you go there. So for adjacent users, you have a core user. You know what the core user is. I'll explain who the core user is now. They take 3 trips in a day. This person in a week, sorry, person takes 2 trips, person takes 1 trip. So he has installed but not taken a trip. Let's assume that when Uber came to Nigeria, they only allowed card payment. You understand? So obviously, there have been a lot of people that will have been falling in this particular place. Now, solving for CAD will push some people down here. Do you understand? But that would have been based on research, understanding who the other user was. Okay, they downloaded everybody using the app, and oh, they want cash payment. Let's do cash payment. Or this guy takes, this one takes one trade. Oh, if we put a bonus here, would he make him do this? Would he make him do that? The entire idea of the adjacent user theory is that you have a growing number of people that have signed up, that have come into your product, but are not necessarily core users of your product. And they're not core users of your product, that means they affect how profitable you will be as a product owner, or as a business owner, or as a service provider. You understand? So consistently, one metric you will want to track as a growth marketer or as a product marketer is to ensure that how many core users do we have currently, and how many adjacent users do we have. You now begin to say, is adjacent user 1, adjacent user 2, adjacent user 3. That means from the core user, you begin to design like that. Do you get what I'm saying from there? Do you guys get it? If you are lost, just tell me. You have the core user. People carry different activities that are close to the core user. The farther away they are from the core user, the more adjacent they are. Do you understand that? You want to now work with your product manager, which is product manager people that like say, we are building this product, they scope it out, these are this product to work, these are this product to do, and everything like that. You want to work with them and understand the pain point of each core user, of each adjacent user. You understand? And see how you can solve it. So when you now solve the pain point, where you will come in is how do you communicate the solution to that particular adjacent user. Do you understand my point? Mm-hmm. So one way that most brands will do this is they have different email flows for different people. So there's a particular email flow for core users, there's another email flow for adjacent user A, adjacent user B, adjacent user C. And the entire idea is let's keep moving them closer to the core user. So they have different messaging for different adjacent users and see how they can convert them to become the core user. At Cowrywise, we do something very similar. Do you understand? So we have how we are speaking to different people and trying to convert them to do X. We have our own metric of what a core user is, and we know how we want to communicate with the core user. So that is something that every brand should always do. If not, you have 1 million users and probably 300,000 core users. What that means is basically you just have about 30% of your people who are actively using your product. So for this, in summary, for the adjacent user theory, is that know what core usage means to you and be realistic. Like I said, 3 trips per week is realistic. When you say 5 trips per week, I'm going to go out every day. You might even drop down to 2 trips per week. So know who your core user is. Then start to understand what the adjacent people are, identify them, interact with them, see their specific problems, and see how you can build solutions for them to convert them down into the. Sometimes you might never need to build something new. You know, this person is scared of security. Then you put a security to report thing inside the cap that you can report this and everything. And that works for you. So you keep solving for people at those adjacent levels and you see more people coming to the core users. Why is it important for you to have core users? The reason why it's important is that a core user stands a higher chance of a core user referring your products than an adjacent person. And remember, at the end of the day, what you really want is to drive ambassadors out of these people. So if you want to have more ambassadors, you will need to have more core users. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the second to the last thing I'll talk about on Cowrywise. One way we are doing this in Cowrywise, for instance, is you look at people who say they have not interacted with us for a very long time, and you build a campaign for all of them, categorize them differently, and reach out to them. What supports this? See how they convert. And it works. It works. I've seen it work, but I worked with the team to ensure that we did one recently. I've seen it work. Can it be better? Yes. Like I said, it's only we're still experimenting in-house. We will consistently keep experimenting about it. So please put this in mind, this particular one in mind as a growth marketer or as a product marketer. Is that clear? Good. Yeah. So And if you now look at that thing I'm saying, there's something called PQL. We don't use PQL at Cowrywise because we do not have a need for it. PQL is something called Product Qualified Lead. So if I explain what PQL is, I would explain what SQL is. SQL, MQL, then I have PQL. So do not confuse SQL. There's something called a language, a data language called SQL. It's not, so this is what we call a sales qualified lead, a marketing qualified lead, a product qualified lead. You understand? So SQL is, let us start from the MQL part. So we've gone out to an event. People have said, oh, they like the product, they like our product, everything like that. You take down the data. You then take it to the sales guys. Sales guys will look at it and filter. Then they say, okay, these guys are good. We can demo, let's demos with them. And they go on and they convert them and everything like that. So primarily, these two work a whole lot together. But product qualified lead is quite different in the sense that, so product qualified lead, brands use a lot where they call it freemium model,
Okay.
where you probably download the product. You can download the product and not use it. But if you download the product and use the free version, you're most likely a product qualified. So they monitor you and see how you interact with the product and then tailor the messaging for conversion to you based on the PQL. So if you want to build a freemium model means there's a paid version of what you're offering. So you allow people to experience certain parts of the product and you now convert them based on how they interacted with this. So Netflix, for example, now, if the person was a PQ or just downloaded Netflix and was enjoying mostly Nigerian movies, by the time you want to convert them, you'll be suggesting more of Nigerian movies to them. And that's how you want to convert. You don't want to convert them to say American movies. You can't just say, hey, your thing is just want to pay. No, that's very tailored to what they've been doing. Oh, you watch this, you enjoy this. You want to keep on watching this particular movie, you will do this kind of thing. Do you get my point, right? Yes, so that is, and of course, you can see how PQL ties to adjacent users because they can be people that use the product some way and they just hand it over the core user. They probably wanted to pay. But for instance, in Nigeria, you're using Spotify. Before Spotify, you could not pay because there was no payment service provider for that. Or you start using Spotify, I'm going to be using a subscription store. Now they now find out that okay, most people don't like to pay with their cards, they just want to pay with bank transfers and everything, and they move on to bill for that kind of thing. So PQLs, adjacent users, one way or the other, they work together. So this guy asked a question. He said, "How do I move from digital marketing to product marketing or growth marketing?" Marketing is marketing at the end of the day. What just matters is what tools are you using, what platforms are you using. But marketing is marketing. Do you understand? So there's no doubt about that. What you just need to ask yourself now is, okay, I'm doing digital, I work on digital marketing right now. How can I focus my digital efforts on products? Or how can I focus Or how can I focus my digital efforts on growth? So quick example. By the way, most of us are all digital marketers. By the end of the show, but we all use that. So quick example. I'm working on a campaign, and say the campaign is basically with social media content, YouTube content, and everything like that. How do I know that is impacting the growth of a particular brand? I simply use something called UTM links. UTM links show exactly the source of where traffic is coming from. So what would make you just a better marketer, even though you're in digital space right now, is just learning how to track better and tying it to growth. But at the end of the day, what the end goal of marketing is growth. So when you hear a good marketer, at the end of the day, just simply that the person is marketing focused, driven at overall growth. Do you get that? While product marketers are simply people that pick up a product in a particular company, not so you can work in, say, Coca-Cola right now, and they tell you to market this particular Coca-Cola product. And so you have a focus. How do you drive adoption for that product? Why a good marketer is coordination of all the part, like linking bridges between the entire marketing structure of a firm. And that brings me to the end of my class for today. Thank you. You can actually ask questions. So if you're still online and you have any questions, you can ask me. If you're here also, you can ask me. Yeah, so let's have questions. Anybody has questions?
Okay. First question: are we also going to get slides? Because you mentioned.
Oh yes, everyone gets slides. So people that are here because we probably don't have their emails. We want them to click the link and get slides. Yes, sir.
Then second question, as a follow-up to what he asked, for those who want to switch, well, it's not really a switch like you said. Is there like a recommended course that you can take that can give you?
Okay, so if you want to learn a lot about growth marketing, there's a platform called Growth Tactics. Growth here on Twitter, Growth Tactics. Julian Shapiro, Growth Tactics. They're really, really good, and you can learn from them. They have an academy called Demand Curve. It's on the high side, but if you have the money, I advise that you go for it. So Julian Shapiro, Growth Tactics. Growth Tactics.
It's big dollars, so that's only $500 USD.
Yeah.
So I have this problem. I don't maybe it's you. No. So I feel like marketing is so broad, and I have a problem choosing. Okay, what part of marketing do I want to focus on? Oh, I like content strategy. Should I do content strategy? Oh, I like product. I'm like, oh, okay. So I said, okay, I'm a growth marketer. It doesn't matter if I'm like a full stack product marketer. But I don't know. But I feel like if you niche and if you specialize, it will be better. I don't know what kind of advice can you give to somebody like me that wants to do everything but also wants to niche.
So I think I have that challenge also, and there's a name for it. It's called T-shaped marketing.
Yeah.
So you can just go the T-shaped approach. So T-shaped marketing is simply T-shaped marketing is simply this. So there are many things that you know at the surface level. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You don't need to know so much. You probably know about SEO, you know about email marketing. Or at the core for me, for example, at my core is content marketing. Like I'm pretty good at content marketing, but I know about SEO, I know about email marketing, I know about paid ads, I know about product marketing, content. But at the core sits content marketing. So what I would advise is know a lot about all those little things, but still focus on your core, and your core can feed in. So my content marketing skills can feed into SEO, can feed into email marketing, can feed into even if your core is SEO can feed into anything also. You want to probably write better emails that are open and everything. So at the end of the day, just have your core and have your adjacent learning parts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't be shy, you can ask questions. And if you're on the chat also and you have some questions, please go on and ask. We're rounding this up shortly.
Between product-led marketing and content-led marketing, which one do you think is better? Like generally, Cowrywise.
There's none better. So everybody finds their fit. It's like saying, let me give you an example now. Which one is better between 500, 1,000 naira, or 1,000 naira is a whole note, or 1,000 naira to 200 naira notes? Yes, which one is better? It's still 1,000, right? Well, I prefer 200 naira because I don't want to spend. I want to spend gradually. Some people want to spend just 1,000. They want to carry bulk issue. So what you need to find is what is your fit, basically, and you cannot just use one part. You can be primarily one, but also have support from the other ones. Yeah. So there's none better between product-led, content-led, sales-led, marketing-led. Just find your core, work with your core, and build with the other ones also.
Okay. Because as a designer, I would prepare the product. So I would want it to be like the design dictate the content. And
It's fair.
Sometimes like that.
Most times, I would advise that you work hand in hand with the content, but don't try to dictate from any of both ends.
Okay.
Always work together. Not this should dictate. Yeah, because particularly content guys can be very biased, designers can be very biased, also, and there can be clashes when that happens. So you don't want that kind of clash. So the designer is trying to make it look all neat, white space, you don't want so many words here. And the content guy is telling you, people will not understand what you're writing here.
I don't feel what you're saying.
That's what you're saying. So you need to find that balance together to agree on certain things. We're good? Are you guys sure? Ask me a question though.
What in Cowrywise, what's like your biggest strategy to retain customers?
Biggest strategy to retain customers is the products.
Okay.
Products and content. So the product has to be super exciting for people to always come back. And we're constantly looking for how to make the product more interesting for everyday people. Do you understand? That's the entire idea.
Okay.
So you see, so then that ties into content also. So sometimes some push notifications that come brings people back into the app. Yes.
Has there been a time where you tried the marketing strategy that failed like woefully?
Oh, definitely.
Is there something that-
Yes.
Can you share
Can you share
what
story?
happened? What did you
It
do?
was an email marketing strategy, and we were trying a lot of subject lines. So we tried it was very personalized, tried a very subject line, and it was something like, here's why you're broke. And the open rate there was how many times lower? It crashed.
Wow, really?
And for weeks it just stayed that way. So people were really angry. Like what it was a very annoying thing.
And it seems like something that would be catchy.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
people-
See,
Yeah.
here's the thing. If you see it on social media, right? Here's why you're broke. You may want to swipe, but if someone sends you an email,
Said it not be
here's
so
why.
bad.
Please,
Yes.
here's why you're broke.
Now imagine if somebody who has a high volume of money in Cowrywise has seen that email, how would that react then? You get it? So the key lesson we learned from there was that some subject lines need to be targeted. So we're always not going to ask anybody, tell anybody here's why you're broke again.
If you know,
He just taught us a key lesson on targeted messaging. But those guys would have said, I was like, what do you mean I'm broke? I'm not broke. You get what I'm saying? Some people tell you that, and some people would actually tell you that I'm going to leave. You might not leave, but you have all those kind of threats and everything like that. So you just need to be very careful, particularly with messaging, to be very targeted. Let me give you a very simple example of targeted messaging that is very good. You push notifications. So there's some engineering strategies that you can do with push notifications. If, for example, this is December, and you now do something called location-based push notifications. Push notifications are those messages that drop on your phone. You do location-based messaging. So somebody is working in ShopRite at 5 p.m. And when they're working in ShopRite at 5 p.m., it's possible actually. You can do it.
Yeah.
So a couple of companies do it. I think Info does, I'm not sure. But a couple of companies do it. Just, they do it a lot. You walk in and get a notification like, what are you doing here? It can be very engaging because it is very targeted. Once you can understand targeted messaging, which is what I'm still learning, and that's what that experience taught us, is that you can convert in a very, very super way. You get it?
at the right time, at the right
Yes. So exactly, I work with students probably towards the end of the semester. You get so targeted messaging is very important. That was one lesson that we learned.
It's like saying the right thing at the right place. at
Yeah, at the right time. Exactly.
I have a question.
Yeah, please go on with your question.
So, for a brand that has multiple core audiences, for example, the brand that I'm soon going to be working on is it's a supermarket brand. But where it's different is that it's for rich people. So it's a mall in a way, and it's for those people and their families. They are non-Nigerians, foreigners that live there. They are single parents. They are young executives and millennials that just stay in the house and own their groceries and deliver to them. So we have multiple target audiences. How do you, I don't know, how do you use content-led marketing to get those people into your place? Because sometimes it just feels like we're creating generic content around the products because the products we are selling is the things in supermarkets are not the products that we are selling. There's an experience that is prepared for people. That when you see this brand, if they open up a shop anyway, this is how their store is designed. This is how their people attend to people. I mean, they have concierge inside, wine people that can tell you that go chill, go with this type of money. So it's an experience entirely. The products are just the bonus, right? So we don't know how to narrow content to reach all those multiple core customers, let alone adjacent customers.
Yeah, so go on.
Yeah, they have something in common though. They all have money. No, you think that, have you seen a Bang and Olufsen ad on social media?
Yes.
You'll be like, only rich people can own a Bang and Olufsen.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't give people a Bang and Olufsen as a gift. Nobody's that generous. They literally are so elitist in their messaging because they're not talking to me. They're talking to the people that have that money, that have that mindset. So it may not be, oh, I want to talk to a single mom. You're talking to a rich mom. You're talking to a rich, just think money. I think that one of the things that you need to
There's something
is
that always does
they are all tied together by the money they are spending.
So yeah, that's a good one actually, and the messaging has to be very exclusive. It's not. I don't like this word elitist, but it has to be very exclusive. Like it has to show that not everybody can walk in this circle. You understand? So that's also something like when people are walking into the mall, you're like you can put it that this is a circle for just a few. Person sees that right, this circle is a few. But beyond messaging, it's more about the experience, like you said, and you could do memberships.
Yeah.
You could do membership. Not just memberships for discounts, membership for events. Or we're having a golf stuff at this place. You can only attend with your membership card. Wine tasting, so you will have a couple of micro events for different. So you can find out that okay, this particular person, you have data, is always buying. You cluster them based on their purchase patterns and design specific events for their purchase clusters. No matter how the people that have like certain purchase clusters of things that they always buy, you get. So that's one way. Looking at events targeted at different people. It's still content, but now, like I mentioned, it's an experience, not just text and everything like that. You get. And you want to make it look like not cult pass, but in a cult world pass, where if people want to join the membership, you make it clear that we can only take 100 this year. We can only take so this year. So people are looking forward to join, and like we just open up membership, and you can only join by invitation from another member. So another member is inviting someone to come and join that particular segment. So you have to make it that exclusive. So you are rich here. For you to join the circle, you must wait a certain time, and you must be invited by another member. Yeah. So rich people need to feel that because sometimes.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So any other questions? Okay.
So my question is basically for Cowrywise here. So when you acquire your
Can you speak up so that
so for Cowrywise now, when you acquire your leads, how do you move them through your customer journey? Like maybe you acquire them through. Maybe my first question should be how do you acquire your leads? Is it just by referral? Okay, let's say by referral, so I can just get straight to the point. So let's assume you acquire them through your referral system. Now you have them, so they downloaded your app yet, but they're not using it. Like they're not using it. How do you move them? Is it through email or this particular thing you do? Like how would you describe that movement to actually make them an active user?
Okay. For that particular, it's a good question by the way. We don't necessarily have leads. We get leads. We have like lead campaign also because most times when people are referred, they just go on and create accounts and all that. But they might not fund leads. They might fund. They might have issues and everything and stuff like that. So yes, it's still content. First, when you land there are nudges to tell you that something is locked. I need to claim this because someone has referred you. You get that kind of thing. So maybe you will say X amount of money that they're supposed to give you. This is still locked. To claim it, do this and fund. Yeah. So there are a lot of content pathways for people that are not converted, not just only referrals, for other, I cannot go into the deep details, but for other categories that we consider as adjacent users that we target consistently with content. So content actually plays a heavy role in that conversion.
Sorry, another question. Do you think it takes long? Like, does it really?
It took so on how long things happen. I remember a case now. I was reviewing one of our campaigns once. I heard somebody that converted after 2 years. 2 years. Person has been there, nothing, and just went after 2 years.
And you were still giving this person this content.
Wow.
You
Yes.
were getting your content.
Yeah, they were getting the content. So one particular content that reached out to the person, and then we just asked the person, it's been 2 years, why have you not logged in? It was targeted, yeah? And the person responded. I said, okay, blah, 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 this. And the person finally logged in. So sometimes it can be that long, actually. But the good thing is that not everybody's going to go that long. Some will convert instantly, some will convert in 2 months, in 1 month. But for your kind of business, for our kind of business, because it's a volume, like so many, we can afford. But your business is like you need 20 clients. Of course, you want to make it a very strict, you want to have like a stricter conversion. You don't want to give like, except maybe the person is a very high level client. You know, once they convert,
When they pay.
that's the end.
client.
So you just need to be able to develop targeted flows. Like if you are offering consulting for, say, banks, or let's say for rich people now, or let's say for people that are billionaires who are looking to invest their money in different spaces, you're not going to use the same approach you use for Mr. A for Mr. B, because Mr. A wants to feel more exclusive than Mr. B. Mr. B wants to feel more exclusive than Mr. A. So you need to be able to have different tools. Like I said, test everything, measure, and scale. If it's not working, don't feel bad. Even if you're not designing from A to Z, discard it. Move to the next one. Okay. You need to move very fast. Test, scale. That's it.
Okay, so I read your interview with Tech Hub with KP, and something that really stuck with me was you saying that for a campaign you should have a particular goal, and I found out that a mistake I make. So because I am too my feet are everywhere, it doesn't make it like it affects the result. So I wanted to ask that, do you have any other advice for marketing campaigns like that one? Like I don't the question is not very direct, but what advice would you give for the success of marketing campaigns? It could be a product launch, whatever.
So for marketing campaign, what advice I would give is you always have a day 90 metric table. 90 days metric table. So you have one core metric that you want to measure. I always advise just having one goal you want to measure, just one. You can have two, but I always advise just one. I used to be very excited about things before. I used to have like 12 goals that it didn't make any. So have one goal, just one goal, just one goal, and then say this is target by day 30. Then I look actual performance. This is target by day 60. Then actual performance. This is target by day 90. Then put actual performance. You break it down. Why that is good is if you don't meet your day 30 target, it is easy for you to now re-engineer and see how it works in day 60. If it now goes better in this, you know, okay, what you did then. Well, if it doesn't go, you can still try again. The entire idea is for accountability. Most times as marketers, when we do stuff, we just forget. We do it and it's gone in the past. No, you have to see how it really goes and impacts the brand over 90 days. I advise 90 days anytime. See how it impacts the brand over 90 days. Yes, please.
My brand has a couple of products that I want to launch at like the same time. How do I convince? Is it a good idea? Because I don't think it's a good idea, but then I'm new to this, so maybe I'm short-sighted. But it's like we want to do this and this and this, all within the same experience, but they're all different arms of our product, and it's like, should that be happening at the same time?
Yeah, run simultaneous campaigns.
So how do you advise that I hack that without it like being, I don't know, distracting? Can it get distracting to the customers?
So the assumption is that most times you think that every campaign you're running will be seen by all customers. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Multiple campaigns will be seen by different sections of your customers. So what our advice is, once again, make sure each campaign is targeted at this type of customer, that type of customer, X type of customer. That's what run multiple campaigns. I used to be against multiple campaigns until I had one of our co-founders, Razak, speak with me and explain that things have to happen simultaneously. They have to run at once together and fire everything up. Do you understand? If not, nothing will happen. So run multiple campaigns. Do not overstretch yourself though. Because I know that most startups are usually like small teams. So run multiple campaigns that you know you can handle. Now someone has a very interesting question. He said, how do you arrive at a target in terms of number of potential users for a product? And if the target shifts, what influences that? There are book standard definitions for this, where people say, oh, I'm like, how many young people live in Lagos? What percentage of young people are we trying to get? And everything like that. For me, I hate to work with that. It is good, no doubt. It is good, no doubt. But one thing you can do is to first define who your core user is, how you want your core user to be, push out the product there for 1 month or 2 months, see the adoption rate of that product. Do not put any target for it yet. It might sound disingenuous, but let that happen. This is for a new product, by the way. Let it go like that. Then when you now see that you have history to be able to predict the future, after you have your first set of adoption, you can then begin to predict the future and say, this is what we are looking for in so and so month, this is what we are looking for in so and so time. You understand? But first of all, define what core usage of a product will be like, watch the adoption rate of that product, then from there, you can start to predict. Predicting before you even understand your core usage is fast. So that's what I advise for you. So any other questions? Okay, shoot.
No, it's not defined, but
don't worry, it's fine.
I know Cowrywise has a lot of competition every like fintech. So the question is not defined because I don't know what exact person I'm talking about. How do you deal with your competition? I know that Cowrywise, especially with content, you will be able to like draw the line between you and Cowrywise has more of a community than any other like fintech saving brand. So I just wanted to ask, is there anything you do, like any like strategy for your competition, how you deal with competitors?
Or you just ignore them?
Or you guys know.
I just focus more on your customer.
Yeah.
Or you're like, what's happening? I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Don't do it.
See, there's always going to be competition, whether you like it or not. But the first competition you have is that people will rather not use any products. They'll just be. They'll just be. I don't use any products. You understand? Okay, there's another question here, which is more important, acquisition or retention. I'll come to that also. We'll have to round this up because some people want to watch this and it'll be too long. It's about 2 hours already. So, what is it that will stop a customer from using your products? That's the first competition. For a fintech brand like Cowrywise, it's security. People are worried about how to get their money online. Do these guys know what they are doing and everything? So that is why content was the first step. But apart from the fact that there are a couple of things we did. For example, Cowrywise is the first fintech to ever set up like a protective structure for online investments in Nigeria called the trustee structure. So the trustee structure is what traditional investment firms use. Cowrywise was the first firm to bring this into the space. But nobody will know that if Cowrywise does not write articles about it. If Cowrywise does not explain how secure Cowrywise is. So the content approach from Cowrywise does two things. The first and foremost thing was to teach people. Secondly, was to instill security. That's a trust. Instill trust in the users. Like I said earlier, people trust who teaches them. So if you teach someone, they'll trust you. If a very simple example, if you are playing football, if you play football, and you have a coach, as long as the coach is telling you to do it, you'll do it because you believe that the coach wants to do anything back to you. You understand?
Yeah.
So you tell you straight like this, you straight like that, no matter what, because you be like, okay, you say that you do that, you do it like that. You trust people that teach you. That's just how life works. So content for us plays a very primary role in driving that trust. Now somebody says, which is most important, acquisition or retention? Both of them are very important. Both of them work hand in hand. Like I said earlier, when you're building a product, what you're thinking of is you should understand how that product will distribute itself before you finish building that product. You get it? While building a product also, you have to understand how you plan to retain customers. If I was to build a food platform today, for example, let me give you an example. If I was to build a food platform today, what I'll be thinking of is, how do I build a point system where when you sign up, you get 1 point? It's there. Like you signed up. Or you don't sign up, you just bought food. And I put it there. Okay, if you sign up today, you get 10 naira. If you sign up today, you get 10 naira. You make your first purchase. That's our acquire the person, right? You make your first purchase, you earn 15 naira. And the person is looking at it and is going to say probably 1,000 naira. Do you get it?
Yeah.
This is retention already put into acquisition.
Yeah.
Because along the line, I can say, if you refer somebody, you earn 200 naira. But you cannot touch this money that you're earning till you get to 1,000 naira. Do you understand? So they do the entire thing and they get to 1,000. And they start another journey again and they get to 1,000. There, I have embedded retention right directly from the acquisition point of view. Where I said if you sign up, you get 10 naira. Or you are just a sign up again from your first 1,000. Something around that, you understand? This is gamified retention, putting milestones across board for people to do certain things within the app. On Cowrywise, we use something called Cowrywise badges. So the more actions you carry out on Cowrywise, you begin to earn badges. Now we just added an extra benefit to that by saying you might be selected to win a birthday cake on your birthday while getting badges. You get that kind of thing, right? So there are little things like that, just very small things that just look ordinary, but at the end of the day, aim is that they're helping you to retain the customer and have them constantly use the product. Another company that does it is Shein, a fast fashion brand. You join them, you get points, you create content that you share, you get points. You keep getting points for using the platform, for buying from them. Do you know my point? You keep buying them, so you keep accumulating points. One way that brands will constantly retain customers is to gamify the experience. They gamify what exactly it is you're experiencing within the product. So gamified experiences is one thing I will take a huge bet on anytime, any day. You have a question?
Yes.
No, man, shoot your question.
Okay.
So I hope I answered your question about acquisition and retention. If you have any other questions, please just drop them and I'll take them.
So I understand the whole content-based marketing, so to say. But then for a brand such as we're dealing in mental health, a very sensitive space. So we cannot play too much with our catchy and engaging titles and all of that. But then we've reached out to these people. So we have like over 1,005 sign-ups. But then the conversion rate is like super
Low.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the best medium to sensitize people?
About mental health.
Exactly.
Why do people don't talk about mental health?
Stigma.
Stigma. How have you addressed stigma?
How are we so far? So basically we hold events and on Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse, but still like people will download it. Like after an event, there's always an increase in number of signups we have and downloads of the app. But then to book a session with the therapist is always.
Is it expensive? Are we
No, very very affordable.
How much?
3K.
So it might be. So you might look. I don't know what the problem is. I don't say it's not affordable. I don't say it's affordable. I do not know what the problem is.
It's very affordable.
But one brand I would advise that you understudy is BetterHelp. Do you know them?
Yeah. Yes.
They're not what happened that you went down like that.
No, like yes, we have been studying better.
BetterHelp and you study Calm,
Yep.
then Headspace.
I feel like people like peaceful content.
Yes, a lot of peaceful
Those
content.
music, jazz music, like music that will make you sleep, the aesthetic. People like
So one approach is study Headspace. You know Headspace?
Yeah.
Study Headspace and go beyond Twitter Spaces. Say, for example, like you mentioned, if I sign up now, if I sign up for a session, can you send me a yoga mat? Is it possible? Or can I maybe I don't say refer friend because it's mental health.
Playlists can even work.
You get good. You will start
Customize
a customized playlist.
Wow.
A customized playlist for calm. For calm days, you could have like a customized playlist for calm days. So people just listen to the playlist. Every week, you're adding something to the playlist. You're having a very simple conversation. Instagram morning sessions where people just have to just sit down and meditate and listen to the playlist and come like that. If somebody comes up after the Instagram morning session, does a very simple talk, nothing long at all, maybe 5 minutes or 2 minutes, talks to people and says, hi, give them like motivation for the day. We Twitter spaces every morning, just 5 minutes of talk where you bring somebody, calm music and everything. So I like the idea of that playlist. Playlist is very good. Playlist, have your morning conversation. So people begin to see you more as a caring parent. Oh, this morning so what will happen is people don't have to give testimonials of I listen to these guys every morning and this is what has happened to me. I listen to these guys every so and so and this is what has happened to me. You understand? So people will just be joining not because they don't have any mental issues, but because they don't want to be calm.
Yeah, that's what we do with the Twitter spaces. Get it off your chest.
Every morning? How long is it?
It's meant to be an hour, but most times.
I don't want something with 5 minutes when nobody else talks.
When
You
nobody
get-
talks.
Nobody talks. Simply, I really thought it was like a very, very calming podcast. Simply, you now tell me that if you have an issue you want to discuss with us, there'll be a form. They click on the form, they go there, they drop an issue with you. You give them probably first 5 minutes for free and tell them that the first 5 minutes are free. Finish work on that 5 minutes. Then you tell them secondly that if you want the next 5 minutes, we need to run the system there. And to keep the engines running. That's all. So pricing, you need to come from an emotional point of view that humans are here trying to make life better for you, and somehow they need to do something. Yeah. Come from that emotion. Don't come and say pay 3,000. No. If you come on a landing page, you can see, find out the copy can simply be get better with your health or no, something very, very calm for free within like 5 minutes free. Someone that talked about a 5 minutes free session. They do that, make it very. Then when they are done with the session, they can select. Would you like to have another session next time? Or no, I'm done with this session. People that select would they like to have another session next time? You can then send them a discount sign-up code, maybe 10% or 5%. You see those ones that have said they want to do another session, I don't mind paying for it. They're higher level. That's what you call the products qualified leads. They've used the product already. They've now given you the intent that I really want to continue this. So you're not going to bring them in and say a 10% discount, 5% discount. And it might work, it might not work. Okay, so there's another question here. You're offering new session. Yeah, exactly. Okay, what's the best content strategy to acquire users for a platform like TaskRabbit? I don't know what TaskRabbit is, but it's a freelance platform for local.
Basically, people put out their need you to clean their house, and then TaskRabbit to send the cleaner over to you.
Like I always ask people something. The first way to know how to acquire users is to understand why people are not using the products, first of all. Not even your product. Why there've been a lot of freelance platforms existing in Nigeria for local talents, local artisans. Why don't people actually go on to use them? Why don't people actually say, okay, I want to use it? For me, for example, I want to get someone that I know that he messes up that day. I'm going to his house, I know his address and everything. So that is one way. That's one challenge. I think you need first of all need to understand the challenges of people, of past artisan platforms. Why didn't people actually use them? And what can you solve now to make sure people use yours? Yeah. Okay, guys. You have one more question?
No.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Once again, my name is Fermi Ajetonwi. I lead product marketing at Cowrywise. This is Cowrywise YouTube channel. You should follow us on YouTube. From time to time, we make money simple in everyday language, and you can check it out. So, Cowrywise on YouTube. That's what we're to stream currently. I'm glad I did this. And if you have any questions, you can send me a tweet, _Feromi. That's my handle on Twitter. You can talk to me from there. Thank you so much, guys. I really enjoyed this session.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Cowrywise. The talking was very nice. I'm